Yeah, you all are obviously pretty familiar with Georgia, but what about their offense stands out this year?
Well, they're your typical Georgia team. They're big, they're strong. They've got really good depth at running back. I mean, they can go 5 deep at running back. Talented tight ends. The Branch there in the slot, is sort of as dynamic a slot as they've had in a long time. I think Young is playing to the level like everybody expected him to play. I know maybe he tried to, last year wasn't necessarily the season he sort of anticipated, but he's playing at a really high level, able to win one-on-one balls down the field, contested catches. So they've got speed on the outside edges, and then they're, as you'd expect, they're massive up front. And so, it's going to be a challenge at all 3 levels for our guys.
Brett, you talked after the game about those, especially that first drive where South Carolina scored and some of the breakdowns on third downs. Is there any common theme to those situations?
Not really. Again, it was 2 third downs, and then the 4th and 3. And, you go back and look at the tape and, it's just it's not for a lack of effort. It's just it comes down to execution, and then there's a difference. That much makes a difference. And you just slide past a receiver, on a 4th and 3, or you're supposed to ricochet in an A gap and you get bumped out into a B gap, and it creates a pass rush lane. Like, just little things that happen. Extend drives, and they did a nice job of capitalizing, on the drives. I thought our guys rebounded, after that first drive, kind of we've talked about before. Like, sometimes you just got to get settled in. But, common theme, like the common theme is, hey, listen, it's little execution issues, and we talked about it before. It's got to be every single play. Like, you don't know which one it is that's going to make the difference. And so, that's football. It's not going to be perfect, but in some of those situations when you got a chance to get off the field, you got to get off the field.
Is that fair to say, too, when it comes to yards after catch? I think 2/3 of their passing yards were after the catch.
Yeah, I mean, it was the big one was obviously the curl that that one was just a bad football, as bad of a football play as we played as a unit. The entire boundary side, didn't play it correctly, even though it was a play that we'd worked, and they all want to kick themselves, but that's what happens when that many guys don't do what they're supposed to do. It leads to bad angles, and at the end of the day, you'd love for it to just get down for a 15-yard gain, and you live out the bad down. But you take that many bad angles, and then again, an effort player cuts off 2 more guys trying to run. It was bad, and so that leads to a large chunk of those after contact or after catch yards. It was way different than Ole Miss, right? Ole Miss was 71 of the 100 yards of hitches were after catch. Like that was not acceptable.
How'd you feel you did on hitches this time? They didn't throw that many, but you feel like you handled them better.
They didn't, yeah. I mean, they didn't throw any hitches. I mean, when you look at it, you look at the completions, they were a tip ball catch, right, to a receiver on the first drive that would, was almost an interception. They threw, a curl on the 4th and 3. They threw a curl on a third down. That was an incredible catch, by 19. There weren't that many. I don't think I can't even remember a hitch.
How have you seen Tavian Gadsden take a step now that he's been able to play a healthy season?
Yeah, you can feel him out there, and he's a big presence. He plays physical in the run game. Did a nice job on the sack. Like we need him to continue to play at that level, because you pair that, next to David and next to Khalil, and the way, Keys is playing up front, and, you feel good about the front.
Where can you see this defense take a step forward? Where do you, it's like specific, hey, we check a box here, we check a box there, we can get where we want to be?
It's the consistent execution. Like that's what it comes down to. Like, and it feels like I'm a broken record here every week. Like, it's, if it's 70 plays, 63 of them are really good. Like, and I mean, it was the least explosives we've given up all year in this past game. We had the 159-yarder. Lenoris made a couple of plays with his legs, right? Like that, he had a 20-yard scramble, a 17-yard scramble where we've got guys, two of them where one should be a 13-yard loss. He ends up scrambling for 7, right? Then he has another one. We've got him wrapped up. He gets out of it, brace contain. Did that twice. So he had 3 scrambles where we had guys touching him for sacks. Credit to him, good player. Obviously we need to finish those. If you finish those, I think people are talking about a completely, different feel in that regard. I thought from an execution standpoint, arguably the most consistent they played. We're able to play the run game in light boxes, proud of the front. We're obviously worried last week about the ball going over the top of our head. I mean, that didn't happen. Wouldn't have expected that one curl to get out, right? Even if you don't match it, you think that it's going to be a 15-yard play, and then, but you got to make them. And if you want to be the defense that you want to be, if you want to take that step that you're talking about, then you make those plays. And that's where we need to do. We need to consistently make those plays.
Brad, a really low-scoring game last season. Can you take anything from that and what you did against the scheme, or does new personnel mean that it doesn't matter?
Every year's a new year. Every team, especially in this era, is a new team, both for them and for us. So personnel-wise, it's different. Obviously, environment will be different. They get to operate, in a home environment, so they don't have to deal with crowd noise. Last year the crowd was awesome, and really helped. So, no, I think that it's a completely sort of different scenario.
Speaking of personnel, Branch and Stockton, they don't feel like your normal kind of Georgia guys, just with the way Branch's explosiveness and Stockton's running ability. Is it schematically any different, or is it Bobo is going to do what Bobo does?
Yeah, I think they do a great job of finding ways to get their playmakers the ball, whether it's the running backs, whether it's Branch, whether it's finding a way to isolate Young in one-on-one situations. We talk so much about the talented players at Georgia. We probably don't talk enough about the talented coaching staff they have. And obviously Coach Bobo is, a long time, not just coordinator, head coach, he understands football, a great football mind. Obviously gets to work with Coach Smart and understands, what defenses are trying to do in attack. And so they do a great job on both sides of the ball. So it's not just a challenge from a talent standpoint. It's also a challenge from a scheme and, coaching standpoint. And so, for all of us, we have to understand what that's going to be and the chess match that it is back and forth. To say Gunner's not your I don't know about that.
4 yards carry.
Yeah, but I think he does. But Stetson did too, and but yes, Branch gives him a dynamic there in the slot that they haven't had there in a while, and extremely explosive.
Brad, you mentioned them going 5 deep at running back. Is it realistic to be able to prepare for that many different guys, or just more important just to defend against the scheme regardless of
Yeah, that's going to have to be scheme. Like you have to know who's back there and try to know sort of what their talent, what their skill set is, what their strengths are, what they like to do. Hey, is it, if it's 2, obviously he's a big physical guy and he's going to try to run over you, and you better get your pads ready. If it's 20, it's speed. Frazier and Bowen and are going to be a mix of both explosion, speed, jump cut ability. 32's got great hands, can play out of the backfield. So, you got to try to understand who's in the backfield and what their strengths are. But you don't play specifically for that.
Right, on his radio show Monday, Mark talked about C.J. Wilkes as a young guy whose role is kind of expanding. What do you like about what he's done so far and how you can help?
Yeah, you think about what's been successful in our defense over the years, right? Length and athletic ability and size. Whether it's Josh Allen or Jordan Wright, J.J. Weaver, he fits that mold. He's long, he's athletic, he's an easy mover on his feet. He doesn't even look like he's as heavy as he is. Obviously, just a freshman, so he's still just getting stronger, and then trying to adjust to all the moving pieces that are put in front of him. That's the hardest part. We try to keep it as simple as we can for him to be able to execute, but he's done a nice job when he's gotten the game. He would like obviously the one play back, when it was him and Norris on the zone read, and he's in great position, and you always tell those guys not to jump, and he just kind of skipped a little bit, and then you feel the speed of the Norris. But been impressed with his demeanor, his ability to be coachable, and you can coach him hard, and he doesn't take it. He takes football seriously, but he doesn't get down on himself.
Okay, folks, thank you very much.